Max was once a playful, energetic puppy. His fur was soft and shiny, his eyes full of hope. He had a family who loved him, a small boy named Timmy, who would spend hours playing fetch in the yard, and a warm home where he always felt safe. Life was simple and perfect. But one fateful day, everything changed. It was a stormy evening, and the wind howled through the trees. Max was out in the yard, chasing a ball Timmy had thrown. The loud crack of thunder startled him, and in a moment of panic, he bolted. The storm was too much, and the gate that had always kept him safe swung open in the chaos. Max ran, his heart racing, not knowing where he was going, just that he needed to escape the terrifying noise. Hours passed, and the storm subsided, but Max was lost. He wandered the streets, hungry and cold. The familiar sights of his neighborhood were gone, replaced by unfamiliar buildings and strange smells. No matter how much he barked or searched, he couldn't find his way back. Days turned into weeks. Max's once shiny fur became matted and dirty, his ribs visible beneath his thin coat. He scavenged for scraps, his trust in humans fading as he encountered cruel strangers. Some threw stones, others yelled at him to go away. He was nothing but an unwanted nuisance to the world. Then came the worst of it. A man with rough hands and a cold heart found Max one evening, curled up in an alley, shivering from hunger and fear. The man kicked him, sending Max tumbling into the dirt. He didn't even fight back. He was too weak, too scared. Every day the man would return, treating Max like nothing more than an object to torment. He was locked in a cage, beaten and ignored, his once bright eyes now dull with sorrow. He was no longer the happy puppy who had loved life. Max had forgotten what it felt like to be loved, to be cared for. But one day, after what felt like an eternity, the man left the door to the cage unlocked. Max, still weak but driven by a faint spark of hope, managed to crawl out. His paws hurt, his body ached, but he knew he couldn't stay there any longer. He had to try to find his way home. The next few days were a blur of pain and exhaustion. Max stumbled through streets searching for anything familiar. His body was broken, his spirit crushed, but his heart still held on to the tiny hope that he could find the family he once knew. Finally, after days of wandering, Max found himself in front of the house he used to call home. He could barely stand, his eyes were swollen, and his body was covered in scars, but he recognized it. This was where Timmy had lived. This was where he had been happy. He lay down in front of the door, too weak to move any further. His tail wagged feebly as he waited, hoping for a miracle. But the door never opened. No one came. His family had moved, and Max was left alone once again. In the end, Max didn't find the love he had once known. But his heart, though battered, never stopped beating with the memory of it. And as he lay there, under the porch where he had once been safe, he closed his eyes for the last time, his journey finally at an end. Max had lost his way, but in his heart, he had never given up on love.